I'm anxious moving forward. Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Senator Douglas. Senator Southworth.
Here.
Senator Yates. Representative Bowling. Representative Hart.
Here.
Representative Minter.
Here.
Representative Cook.
Here.
Chairman Meredith.
Here. We do have a quorum. Is there a motion, first item on the agenda is consideration of the minutes of our January 11th meeting of the committee. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Representative Hart. Is there a second? Second by Representative Mentor. Thank you. Clerk, please call the vote. Call the roll.
Senator Douglas. Senator Southworth.
Aye.
Senator Yates. Representative Bowling. Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Minter.
Yes.
Representative Cook.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Total number of items on the agenda today are 207 in the amount of $91,674,326.50. All vendors on the February agenda are registered with the Secretary of State's office. Next on the deferred list is number 69 from the July routine PSC green list. If representatives are here, please identify yourself for the record.
Yes, sir. This is Kerry Harvey, Secretary of the Justice Cabinet. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, sir, and appreciate you joining us, and just appreciate if you could give us an update on where we are with this particular contract.
Yes, sir. We are moving forward with the RFP that's we've discussed previously. In fact, the proposal period has closed, and we're now reviewing the submissions that we have for technical compliance. That shouldn't take very long, and we expect we'll be able to move forward and hopefully enter into a new contract as once we're assured that the proposal meets the technical requirements. So I can't give you a specific time, of course. The process does take some time, but I would hope that within the next month to 6 weeks or so that we will have a new contract.
All right, thank you, sir. And again, appreciate you hearing our concerns about this particular contract and the proactive stance you've taken on this, and really appreciate that. But since we don't have an end date on this, is there a motion to continue to defer?
Second.
Motion by Representative Yates, Senator Yates, and seconded by Co-Chair Cook. All those in favor vote aye. All opposed vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas. Aye. Senator Southworth.
Aye.
Senator Yates. Aye. Representative Bowling. Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Minter.
Yes.
Representative Cook.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. And Commissioner Harvey, appreciate you meeting with us again and bringing us up to date, and we'll look forward to hearing from you in future meetings.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the committee's patience and ask if I may be excused.
Most certainly. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next on the deferred list is number 4 from the January routine personal service contract list. This vendor is now registered with the Secretary of State's office.
Yeah.
Yes, we need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Co-Chair Cook, seconded by Representative Hart. All those in favor vote aye. All opposed vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas. Aye. Senator Southworth.
Aye.
Senator Yates. Representative Bowling. Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Minter.
Yes.
Representative Cook.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Motion carries. The last item on the deferred list is number 46 from the January routine PSC contract list. The vendor is still not registered, and the university is requesting another deferral. So do we have a motion to defer?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Representative Hart, seconded by Co-Chair Cook. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas. Aye. Senator Southworth.
Aye.
Senator Yates. Representative Bowling. Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Minter.
Yes.
Representative Cook.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Next order of business, consideration of the agenda, including the deferred list, corrections list, personal service contract list, PSC Amendment List, Memorandum of Agreement List, Memorandum of Agreement Amendment List, and Kentucky Entertainment Incentive Program Agreement List. Except for those items selected for further review, is there a motion to consider the contracts reviewed without objection?
So move.
Motion by Co-Chair Cook. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Mentor. All those in favor vote aye. All opposed vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling, Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor,
Yes.
Representative Cook,
Aye.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. First item on the pulled list are with the Department of Medicaid Services is number 13 on the routine PSC green list and number 11 on the MOA Amendment 10 list. Excuse me. If representatives are here, please identify yourself for the record.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Veronica Judy Cecil, Senior Deputy Commissioner for the Kentucky Department for Medicaid Services.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Cecil, for joining us today. And I requested this contract be pulled. And my concern is an issue that we've had with previous contracts of this nature where we engage consultants to look at programs or audit programs, make suggestions or recommendation, and then they're followed up with another contract saying, oh, well, we're going to now check the work that we've outlined. And I just don't understand. Thought we would anticipate that we would need this follow-up as well. Why that wasn't enclosed in the original RFP?
Yes, sir. What we ended up doing is the original work was to support the implementation of the single managed care pharmacy benefit manager, and which obviously we implemented on July 1st. As we moved through towards the end of the year, we realized that we needed the additional services. And, frankly, the department determined that it was important to have some type of independent assessment so that we can provide a report to the legislature on the effectiveness of the implementation. Unfortunately, we had no further contract extensions, but we felt the work was necessary and needed to continue.
I don't disagree with the work. And the issue, again, is, we've had a relationship with one vendor, and certainly we're relying on their expertise. But now we've asked them to extend the scope of their project, and, there's not really a competitive bid for this. So how do we know we're getting value? How do we know that we couldn't have done this with somebody else? And it just concerns me that we don't anticipate that we're going to do this anyway, and why we couldn't have an inclusive bid, and it would have been more cost effective.
So first of all, I would say that the current vendor obviously has the knowledge and of the implementation that would assist us for this kind of review sooner than later, rather than later.
Excuse me, but you missed my point here. Of course they've got the knowledge because you've engaged them to do that. But my concern is now we're engaging for another period of time to do this additional work, and we're relying on them because they have this expertise which they gained from us contracting with them to begin with. And my question specifically is, why didn't we include this in the original RFP? It should have been anticipated. And how do we know we're getting good value? Because they know themselves that they know us, we have the information, so we can ask whatever we want to ask on this contract.
Senator, again, if we could have anticipated, we certainly would have included it initially, but we did run out of contract extensions, and we're still in the process of doing some implementation work around the single MCO PBM. To procure a new vendor and to get them up to speed, we're talking 9-10 months down the road, and we felt like this is something we've done 6 months of the implementation. We really wanted to step back and take a look. We had no more contract extensions for them to be able to do the work. And so it really kind of was about the contract extensions that we ran out of the time to have them perform that. And so we've done 6 months of the implementation. This is now the time to step back and do an evaluation of it.
Well, I still don't think you've answered my question, but I'm not going to get argumentative and
sorry.
go to the point. The issue,
apologize for
well,
that.
the issue is someone should have anticipated that we'd have to have this follow up. Should have been included in the original RFP, and I think we probably would have got a better price than this $520,000 that we're going to have, or $520,000 they're going to have to spend. So I feel like we got our back up
Senator-
against the wall. We have no choice on this because they've got the information. They've kind of set up the system. We have to do it with them. It's just my disappointment that we don't anticipate these things and try to get every bang for our buck, and we don't do that, particularly with
Senator,
consultants.
if I could please just make sure you understand that. So we did not expend all of the funds in the previous contract. We only expended about half of the contract extension to 12/31/2021. So, I just want to make sure you were aware of that too.
Well,
And I understand the concern about cost and making sure that we're being good stewards of the taxpayers' money.
Well, I'm aware that you didn't spend all the funds, but that's irrelevant to the issue at hand. But again, I'm just going to just record my displeasure with this whole process. I don't like it. I think we need to do a better job with these consulting contracts. Don't like them to begin with, but it is what it is. But if nobody has any other questions, I'll entertain a motion to take action on this contract.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to take action.
Thank you,
Although
Senator
I
Yates.
do agree with several of your points in there. I'll make a motion to-
Second.
Motion by Senator Yates, seconded by Senator, who? I'm lost here, sorry. Senator Douglas. Sorry, sir. All those in favor of the motion, vote aye. All opposed, vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas. Senator Southworth.
It's my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm going to vote no. And the thing that bothers me the most is contract extensions are written into an original contract for a reason. And then we sit here and say, oh no, we don't have the ability to extend our contract. And I think the whole purpose of the Model Procurement Code is to align these things in a way that the public knows what's going on, and we don't sit here and start using not feasible to bid contracts for the purpose of an extension that's precluded by state law or the terms of our contracts. I mean, it just sounds really strange to me. I hope that we are getting an actual independent review if that's what we need. When this kind of stuff comes to us, it concerns me about who's reviewing and what they're getting done. So right now, I think I'm going to vote no. Thank you.
Senator Yates.
Explain my yes vote.
Yes, please.
Mr. Chair, and I think you and my colleague also made a very good point. Originally, would have been a limitation on this contract to 6 extensions. It was done for a reason. It was done for a purpose. And so after the 3rd or 4th extension, that's when we start looking to bid it out. And I think at this point, I dealt with this a lot at the local level when I was president of the Metro Council, and we made it a no-go. And after a period of time, we got a lot better at it, and it actually wound up saving money. And I think that obviously this is a whole lot bigger animal we're dealing with, and I do completely understand that if they very well got the same contract, they have inside information, they've been working on it, but I do think that that's one of the reasons that you have the ability to bid out is for trust in the system, so people understand that. And so it is something I think that while I think this is kind of a Better Business Bureau stamp onto it, and we're very limited in what we can do, I think it is important that we do voice those concerns. And I know it's always hard on the person testifying. It sounds like it all comes down on you, but there's no one else really to voice that concern to. So I would hope in the future that after the several extensions that then we start looking to go ahead and bid that out, at least to put it all on the public, because we know once you've extended all 6 extensions, once you're done, well, for them to come out and give you a bid, they're in the power position. They know there's no one else there to bid against them. And so my one question I would have, while I'm going to approve this contract, is the amount to finish it out, is that comparable to what had been in the 6 other bids? May I ask that during the vote, Mr. President? Am I out of order? It came to me as I was talking.
Yes, I'm afraid you are.
I am, and I'll let it go. And I think I know the answer to it, but I'll still put a yes vote.
Good question. I liked it, but
Representative Bowling. Representative Hart.
No.
Representative Mentor.
Yes, but briefly explain my vote. I concur with what Senator Yates said, and again, that we need to consider that going forward.
Representative Cook?
Aye, and may I explain my vote, Mr. Chairman?
Most certainly.
I vote aye. I feel like we're backed into a corner on this. I believe we have to pass it. I certainly agree with everything Senator Southworth, Senator Yates, and what you have said, Mr. Chairman. I believe all those are correct. I feel like it's kind of backed us into a corner, and therefore I vote aye.
Chairman Meredith?
I'm voting no, because again, I think one of the guiding principles of this committee should be spend this money like it's your own. And if that principle were adhered to, I think we would save this Commonwealth millions of dollars. And it's just too easy to say we have a relationship. These folks have done good work, so let's move on. So again, my vote is no. What's the vote count? 3 yes, 4 no. We don't have enough to approve the contract. Is there a motion to disapprove? Seeing no motion that the contract will advance to the Cabinet Finance for final disposition of it. Next item for you is number 13. Excuse me, I got to find myself here. Number 11 on our memorandum of agreement list. This with, again, Department of Medicaid Services, University of Louisville Research Foundation, Medical Consulting. $430,000. It's increased by $31,000, and it's for funds for the medical director assist in identifying trends regarding the managed care organizations, as well as remaining fee for service population to promote quality health services outcome. First question I have is why the $31,000 increase?
So we've utilized this contract for our medical director since fiscal year 13. The current increase is due to the medical director going from a 0.8 to a full-time. We determined that there's just enough work that we need to have somebody full-time. Previously, Dr. Judy Terrio, our medical director, would do clinicals for time to time. And so to keep, in the office and in serving patients. But now she's going to be dedicated full time to Medicaid.
I guess I missed that one too. So what, I don't think you answered the question, is what precipitated the need to go full time other than the fact that she's not going to be in full time, or she's going to be part time in practice. Now she's going to be full time in this. So,
right.
That's
she was. I'm sorry, Senator.
Well, just to me, what she does in private practice are relevant. I'm talking specifically this job. What's required to go from an 8 full-time equivalent, 0.8 full-time equivalent to 1 full-time equivalent? What has occurred?
She had, we had conversations with her that the work in Medicaid was significant and she was having to dedicate more and more hours to provide the services as medical director, as Medicaid medical director. And so we made the decision that it's in the best interest of Medicaid to have her as a full-time.
Well, the things that she's contracted to do, I'm a little bit puzzled, is why aren't the managed care organizations responsible for providing this kind of information?
So she's our medical director. So yes. She is the one who evaluates single case agreements. She's the one that helps develop the policy around the benefits and services that we provide. She works very closely with the managed care organization. She leads the meeting with all the medical directors. They work together to try to align policies and review quality and care, and then help implement, especially around our quality strategy, to try to help implement best practices and evidence-based treatment. So she leads all that on behalf of the department.
Does the increase have to do anything with increasing the number of MCOs from 5 to 6?
No, that had nothing to do with it.
All righty. Any other questions? Senator Douglas?
I have a question. I'm looking at the amount of I'm looking at the amount here. What
Senator, is your mic on and pull towards you so we can hear you?
Nope. My
Thank you.
apologies. My apologies, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at the agreement amount. Tell me where that money goes.
That money goes to obviously pay Dr. Terrio's salary and all fringe benefits. And then there is some administrative cost to U of L to, to do all that, to pay her.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions, comments? If not, entertain a motion.
To approve.
Motion by Senator Yates to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Mentor. All in favor of the motion, vote aye. All opposed, vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas,
No.
Senator Southworth,
Mr. Chairman, I was gonna vote yes, but I think I maybe have been a little distracted. Are we doing an approval of the contract?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Senator Yates.
Yes.
Representative Bowling, Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor,
Yes.
Representative Cook,
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
No. The vote is 5 ayes, 2 no. Contract passes. Thank you for joining us this evening. I think this is all that we have for you.
Thank you.
Next item on the pull list, and we're going back to the routine PSC green list, is with the Department of Highways, and is number 25 on the PSC green list. If representatives are here, please identify yourself for the record. Senator Southworth has questions.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. I am Eric Pelfrey, our Director of Professional Services. I'm also joined by an Assistant State Highway Engineer, Jason Sawala. Jason, do you want to introduce yourself also?
Yes, good afternoon. This is Jason Sawala with the Department of Highways, Assistant State Highway Engineer.
Thank you for joining us. As I noted, Senator Southworth has a question about your contract.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Typically, as I read through these, I have at least a half a clue by the description what we're talking about. In this situation, that has reduced to maybe 25% or less. And as I'm looking at the contract, it's one of these kind of scribbled out in Microsoft Word looking thing from about the late 90s. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what is the project and what are we doing with this?
Sure. So this contract is to operate a KYTC project, which is referred to as TRIMARC, Traffic Response and Incident Management Assisting the River Cities, which operates the Traffic Management Center for the greater Louisville metro area in Jefferson County, as well as operating the traffic management functions for the Northern Kentucky area in the Boone, Kenton, and Campbell area. So that includes running the 24/7 Emergency Operations Center, notifying individuals via electronic means and other ways of incidents within the area, operating all of the dynamic message signs on the interstate, putting out net alerts, which is notify every truck, which is intended to help commercial vehicles understand what's happening as far as system disruptions or closures due to incidents or other items. And they also work statewide with our intelligent transportation systems repairs. So all of our traffic cameras and dynamic message signs around the state, they perform maintenance on those items as well.
So when we see little signs on the side of the road with weird letters and numbers and little lights, are those your traffic cameras, or are we monitoring flow, or is that part of this program?
I apologize, ma'am. So the signs that I'm talking about are the ones that are up above the interstate on. If you drive, you would drive underneath one. They're on gantries that go across the interstates.
I apologize.
Some of those items.
I did catch that. I guess I was going on to a new piece of this,
Yes.
trying to add in since you mentioned traffic monitoring.
Some of those pieces of technology, and I don't know specifically which ones you're talking about, would be a part of our rest area program where our way station program, where we are doing automatic truck screening for commercial motor vehicles going into and out of weigh stations in partnership with the Kentucky State Police. I'm not sure what other items you might be seeing on the sidewalk or the roadway there.
Sure, but that at least gives me an idea. Now I am at least over the 50% plus mark on exactly what this is. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? If not, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Co-Chair Cook, second by Representative Hart. All those in favor of the contract vote aye. All opposed vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates.
Aye.
Representative Bowling, Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor,
Yes.
Representative Cook,
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Next
Thank
item.
you.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate your participation.
Yep.
Next
Thank
item
you very much.
Next item on the pull list with the Economic Development Office of the Secretary is number 34 on the routine PSC list. And then we'll also do number 1s and 2 on the KEA program blue list, but we'll start with number 34. If representatives are here, or they are here,
We
Please-
are here.
please identify yourself for the record. Good to see you in person.
Good to see you. Thank you. I'm Katie Smith. I'm the Deputy Secretary and Commissioner.
Tony Ellis. Tony Ellis, General Counsel.
Appreciate you
Government
being here.
Affairs person for the CAP.
If you want to hang around for our entire meeting, you're going to see a similar thread in this thing, is that we've got a number of contracts this time dealing with the executive search firms. And first, I'll commend you that you had the cheapest one. But I
Well,
may criticize
we'd like
you
to
too.
win.
Looks like a big position. Let me find a $46,000. And I guess
At most, 10,000 is potential expenses.
well,
So
that's what amazed me as I go through the rest of these contracts. We're going to spend close to $1 million on executive search firms tonight if we approve all the contracts, and this obviously is a big position. And I'm just curious as how you're either great at negotiating contracts or
what
we
we
decided
do.
to go the cheap route and just do the best we can. But
We like to be highly efficient,
I appreciate that. I'll give
hard
you credit.
negotiators.
And I'll take that for that answer. But the other issue I have, and not an issue, just concern, all these contracts we're going to see today outside the state of Kentucky. And I think particularly for this position, since it's for a position in Kentucky, is there no recruitment firm in Kentucky that's capable of handling this search so we can keep the money in the Commonwealth?
So we follow the procurement, and in EMARS that send out the RFP automatically to all those vendors that are registered. And so ultimately we went with
How many vendors do you have on that list?
we only had one response.
Well, how many vendors on your list?
I believe there was over, when the finance sent it to me, I think it was over 80
80?
vendors.
In making the assumption there are Kentucky firms on that list.
That's my understanding. Anybody that's wanting to do business with the state of Kentucky goes out and registers in the EMARS procurement system as a vendor. And their vendor, I can't remember the exact name, but it's some kind of vendor system. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I commend you on your efficiency and your willingness to spend your dollars wisely. And that's all the questions I have about the contract. Is there a motion to approve or any other comments?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Co-Chair Cook. Second was by Representative Mentor. Thank you. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates.
Aye.
Representative Bowling, Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor,
Yes.
Representative Cook.
Yes, and make a brief statement if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, most certainly.
Thank you all for being here today. I've had the opportunity to work with you all a lot over in Bourbon County Economic Development Cabinet the last 4 or 5 years, and you always send top people out there and been very helpful to us and growing our industrial park. So thank you for all you do.
Well, thank you, Representative. We try to have top people at the cabinet, and we're really fortunate to have them right now. So we have a great team.
Chairman Meredith.
My vote is aye, and I'll echo Representative Cook's statement. Always good to see you folks here. Appreciate the job you do. Wish I saw you more in Meade, Breckenridge, Grayson, Emerson, Hart, and LaRue County, but we'll talk about it a different day, okay? All righty. While we have you here, While we have you here, we have questions on our KEA program blue list 1 and 2. And Senator Southworth has questions about those agreements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to find my contract information, but I'm looking at these and it's interesting to see what all we've got going on here. But I was trying to get a better handle on the costs and the tax incentive and like how much that is, how much is it costing us to give it, and I'm a little bit confused on the numbers.
You know, for the benefit of all the committee members, since we've kind of reinstituted this again, it probably would be very beneficial if you could kind of give us the Reader's Digest version of how this program works.
But I also want to thank you, Chairman, for helping us with the guidelines. We did put, this is our first round of approvals for our, what we're now calling the Kentucky Entertainment Incentive Program. It was transferred to us last year, and we kind of, I guess, effective January 1st, we're beginning to administer the program. So last year in December, we had our KEDFA board put together some guidelines. They're available on our website if anyone is interested, but they do provide an overview of kind of the program and the process. With regards to the amounts, it depends on if they're filming in what we call an enhanced incentive county, which is under our KBI program, or I kind of call it other, or those counties that are not enhanced. So for the projects that are filming in enhanced incentive counties, they're eligible for 35% of the approved payroll expenditures and the 35% of the qualifying expenditures. For those that are filming in the other, so to speak, counties, they're eligible for 30% of the qualifying expenditures and 30% of payroll expenditures, but if they're Kentucky residents, that's 35%. So this is, these are all calculations that were spelled out in the statute that we then put into the guidelines. So it's kind of the program guidelines that you all provided to us, and we're just following those and instituting those calculations when we're doing the approvals for the incentive.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Well, certainly.
Okay. So now that we're having these discussions as a policy matter, and you know the number 30 or 35 or whatever, just I guess it's other people are doing it. I can't remember all the reasons we have that, but anyway, now that we have some hard numbers to look at, I'm looking through these charts. So for example, I'm on number 1, which is the haunted discoveries, and we've got it's a multi-county deal, right? So you have the enhanced county here, you've got the other counties, and it all adds up to all their different expenditures. The total expenditures, $4.5 million. And then it says minimum required qualifying project expenditures, $125. And then we get a breakdown of the different folks. And then it says total negotiated tax incentive amount, 1.4, just about. So, you know, that's, you know, approximately the third mark or so, if we just round it off. Can you explain what's this minimum required project expenditure? That's just a low threshold?
That is a threshold, so that's to show that the project actually qualifies. So the minimum thresholds are for, if it's a Kentucky-based company, for a feature film, TV, industrial film, $125,000. If it's an out-of-state company, it's $250,000 that they have to have. If it's a documentary, it is $10,000 if it's a Kentucky-based company, $20,000 if it's not. And then if it's a Broadway production, it's $20,000. So these are all kind of requirements. So we put this on the board report for our KEDFA board and for the public to see that that is the minimum required expenditure for eligibility. And as you can see, it's right below the table. So they do qualify. Thus, the incentive that we're approving them for, though, is the $1.4 million. And that's based on the calculations of the 30 and 35%.
And the total negotiated tax incentive amount being a third of the total expenditures, I'm just trying to figure out on these, let's say on the payroll expenditures, for example, well, you're going to have, is that inclusive of payroll taxes, or that's just their gross or net? I'm just kind of trying to get my
payroll taxes, just their gross
handle on how much do we think they would have, I mean, are they really going to have this 1.4 in taxes they would have normally owed, and
That's not taxes. That's what we are proving them to be eligible for a tax credit. This is a tax credit program. So they are paying the payroll, and they'll be paying payroll taxes on top of these salaries, and then they'll be paying all of the expenditures as well. So the incentive that we're approving them for is actually a tax credit. They'll file a corporate income tax return.
Well, okay, I guess I maybe didn't clarify my question clear enough. I'm just trying to get an idea, what would the normal tax total amount be on something like this $4.5 million project? Would it normally be 1.4? Would it be normally over that or less than that? So we've qualified them for more than they may end up needing to even pay, so they're going to have a ceiling there. I'm just trying to get a handle on what the normal tax amount would be that we are providing.
So for the payroll, I mean, you could look at it possibly at the taxes would be 5% for the state payroll, for the payroll taxes for an individual. But when you get into the qualifying expenditures, a lot of times, I mean, you can maybe look at it as 6% of that would be potentially sales tax if the purchasers are eligible for sales taxes. And then you've also got that there are other taxes that may be paid that we don't know about as part of the production and the filming. So that's not something
you have.
Right.
Final question then, is it fair to say more than likely, we used to have this program, didn't we? Something like it?
It was formerly the film credit program.
Is this about the same amount that it used to be? In your experience in the past, did you see where this number 1.4 is above what they actually were able to claim?
Senator Southworth, just to clarify, we only just got this program.
That's right.
This was just transferred from tourism to the Cabinet for Economic Development.
Don't know.
So
Okay.
we are rapidly trying to learn the program and comply fully with the statute. But in terms of the historical numbers of exactly what was spent, I think that's really, I mean, we could try to find out, but I don't think we know exactly a really firm answer on that.
That's fine. I just wanted to start digging into this because if we're going to start seeing these all the time, I want to have a half clue what we're talking about. But I appreciate you getting your half clue ahead of us so that we know. Thank you.
And
if you have questions, just let us know. But we are truly putting processes and things in place and kind of starting it all with our cabinet at this time.
And I really do want to commend Katie's team, I mean, in building out the regulations for this and onboarding the program. They worked a lot of nights and weekends. People say, you know, there's a thing out there about how government workers don't work that hard. I've never seen that. I think, you know, I'm incredibly impressed by how hard people work all around, usually for less than they would make in the private sector to try to do a good job. And I would also note other cabinets are good negotiators. I did not want to indicate that my colleagues out there are bad. I'm sure whatever they're putting in front of you was heavily negotiated and really, you know, thought out and you know,
Good
they
cover,
did their
Tony.
best.
Good cover. Senator Yates, you have a question?
No take backs.
Oh.
It's on record. I've learned that the hard way. Now, she got talking. There used to be the film credit program.
That's correct.
In Kentucky, we've recently seen a lot of filming for different music videos and things like that. I didn't realize the cost of that so significant. Do they fall within this new program? I know, I guess, it doesn't look like they're listed specifically in there, but would it fall under the short film? Because that may be encouraging as we're trying to draw in those dollars. To see how
So
we
commercials do not. So if we do a commercial or like a news broadcast, but I will say we've had lots of conversations. We've kind of changed the process up a little bit. We are requiring the projects. We don't have just a blanket application on our website. They have to reach out to us, and we're talking to them more. So before we share the application with them, but we've got some feature films. They can either be for movie films, for movie theaters, or for streaming services such as Apple, Netflix, or it can be for TV. We've got TV shows. The first two that we have are TV series, but nothing like a news or commercial are eligible.
What about music videos?
Would it be for an industrial use? Potentially.
Industrial film, feature. I don't think music videos.
As part of a television
Is it
program?
part of a television program?
No, so I was wondering, there may be a gap in there. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand the idea and incentive of wanting to draw that in. I just know we have a lot of local talent that we could potentially encourage to come back here as opposed to shooting in other places. So maybe if it's not included, maybe it's something we could look at. But I appreciate I don't mean to drop questions being new to it, but pique my interest and see if you knew that answer.
We'll definitely take note of that.
Thank you.
And we're always excited to try to bring back talent. We think there's an incredible amount of talent here, but there's a lot of people that have left Kentucky looking for ways to come back home.
Co-Chair Cook, you have a comment, question?
Yep, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just comment. I'm happy to see these on here. In fact, I hope we see more of them, because so many times you get focused when somebody's looking at this and they see a tax incentive out there. Oh, it's $140 million that we're not getting in taxes, and that becomes the focus of the whole thing. But what the focus needs to be are the jobs that are being created, payroll tax, everything that the infrastructure that you are bringing in. So whether you're putting the entertainment services in here, or whether you're bringing big industry or coming into a certain industrial park, it's competitive out there. And when you start throwing, and it's competitive from county to county, it's competitive from state to state. And so you have to be aggressive, as you all well know. And so let's get them in here. That's how you grow. So thank you.
To echo his sentiments there, before we made this recent change, we had pretty much decimated that industry in Kentucky because the tax credits weren't available. And I never understood that logic, because it was a 30% tax credit. But I'm saying, would you rather have 60% of something or 30% of nothing? And that's where we are. But you're correct. We focus, I think, appropriately so, on manufacturing, engineering, things like that. But we have a wealth of talent in Kentucky that we need to leverage. And I think this will be a highly successful program if we can document the numbers, and I think we'll be able to.
Yes.
I look forward to seeing Senator Yates in a video. I think that's going
saying
to
the
be very
same
strong.
thing. Yes.
They're out there.
He seems so interested. I'm not sure I'll entertain a motion from him, because I think it may be a conflict of interest. What do you think? Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Co-Chair Cooks, seconded by Representative Mentor. All those in favor of contracts 1 and 2 under the key AEI program blue list, vote aye. All opposed, vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Southworth.
Spend my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm voting aye, and I do hope, I would like to find out if you could maybe check with tourism to find out what the actual rate of use was on maybe some historical examples. That would be really helpful for me. That's really, I think, the last piece of the program. I'm looking forward to seeing these projects blow into the state that we wouldn't otherwise have gotten, because it's not about just the talent that we have here, it's about the landscape. And these landscapes that we have, we've got it all. And I hope to be able to see more of these and have to recuse myself, because my sister was on a film project in Kentucky from the last during the last time they had the program a few years ago, right before it ended, I guess, or however that worked. And so we barely edged out getting in northern Kentucky instead of Ohio, because we had fairly comparable program on the incentives, and we were prettier. And so here we go, right? It's exciting. Thank you.
Senator Yates. Representative Bowling. Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Mentor.
Yes.
Representative Cook.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Certainly appreciate y'all's attendance here. It's always good to see you. You're always welcome back to our committee, as you're welcome in Meade, Breckenridge, Grayson, Emerson, Hart, and LaRue County, as well as Butler and Ohio now. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the pull list is with the Kentucky Heritage Council, and is number 39 on the routine PSC green list. Now I think we're doing this remotely. So,
yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Senator Meredith. Thank you very much.
Are you solo today?
I'm not solo. Again, my name is Craig Potts. I'm the director of the Kentucky Heritage Council, and I'm joined today by Brittany May, who is our agency's fiscal officer.
Appreciate you joining us, and I have questions about the contract. And
Yes,
I'm just curious, given the description that we're given on this, why this contract's coming through the Kentucky Heritage Council rather than the Kentucky Department of Education?
I'd be happy to answer that question. So in last year's legislative session, there was a bill passed, House Bill 382, where in Section 8, there was an appropriation, a general fund appropriation in the amount of $50,000 to the Kentucky African American Heritage Commission. That Heritage Commission is administratively attached to our agency, so we are administering those funds on their behalf. So that's why it was ended up coming through the Kentucky Heritage Council.
Okay, I guess that one. I don't recall that legislation. Not that I'm doubting it. It just seems like a strange flow of dollars, particularly since we're developing something that's curriculum based, and I just assumed it would come through the KDA. But it is what it is. Any other questions, comments? Motion by Senator Yates and seconded by Senator Douglas. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling, Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mincher,
Yes.
Representative Cook,
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Potson, Ms. May, appreciate you joining us this afternoon and providing us the information that I requested. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Next item on the pull list of the Kentucky Horse Park and is number 41 on the routine PSC list. If representatives are here, please identify yourself for the record.
Good afternoon, Senator Meredith. I'm Melissa Brewer. I'm with the Tourism Arts and Heritage Cabinet, and I'm the Director of Finance.
Good afternoon. I'm Donna Snyder, the Deputy General Counsel of the Tourism Arts and Heritage Cabinet.
Thank you for joining us this evening. And Co-Chair Cook and I have questions. I'll defer to him first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Melissa and Donna, thank you for being with us here this afternoon. I absolutely love the Kentucky Horse Park. I love all our state parks. Love the state park because it deals with horses. I'm in the horse industry, and it's close to my house, I guess, so I'm currently in my district. So I'm very concerned, watch over there. It's obviously a big economic driver for everything that we have going on. I think we all remember the Herald Leader news reports when all that broke. That's been several years ago. And I see the contract coming through here, and we've got, looks like a Mr. Carter coming on to take the reins and take over everything. I'm just curious, make sure the RFP contract was followed, and if you guys can just talk to us about that a little bit, it would be great, and everything that went into hiring Mr. Carter.
Okay, thank you, sir, for the question. I issued an RFP, and in that RFP, we crafted the scope of work and tried to be extremely thorough with what type of leader we would look for to be the executive director of the Kentucky Horse Park. Upon closing the RFP, I also we selected a committee of 7 people. They were very knowledgeable about the horse industry and the executive and the needs of the horse park and the executive director. Upon evaluating all of the respondents, there were 3 candidates, and Mr. Carter was the highest score of that RFP. And so with that, we have awarded the personal service contract to him.
Okay, I'm glad to hear all that process was followed. It goes through June 30th. I guess I'm assuming that's, and then set to renew that July 1st. Is that kind of the plan there?
So the renewal would be at the discretion of the Kentucky Horse Park Commission, but there are renewals written into the initial personal service contract, sir.
Thank you.
What were the terms of the original agreement? Was it for 5 months, or when was Mr. Carter engaged?
The actual RFP included in the cost proposal piece, the initial term of the contract could not cross the biennium. So it would be awarded for February 1 through June 30. And then there in the RFP, there were renewals written into it, sir.
Well, looking at the history of the horse park, and again, I do appreciate its value to our Commonwealth. It's a great tourist destination, but it appears to be a lot of volatility in the salary for this particular position. Matter of fact, it looks like we got him for a song compared to what we had paid previously. And I guess I'm a little bit confused by why this is an RFP process and not just solicit candidates interview and you pick the best one. So is there something unique about this situation?
Do you want to answer? The commission, there is no exemption for the commission from following the procurement process for hiring their executive director. So we used the RFP process.
Well, I guess what caught my attention, again, you do the math here and you extrapolate for a year if it's going to be at the same rate. He's making a little less than $200,000. And I believe the previous executive director was well in excess of $450,000. What's the discrepancy here? Why the difference?
Sir, I believe the previous executive director that the $450,000 was the total benefit package, and it was a 2-year period. So it would have been a little over $217,000 per fiscal year.
Okay.
And thank you.
Okay, I guess that explains it. Any other questions, comments? If not, motion?
So move.
Motion by Co-Chair Cook, seconded by Representative Hart. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling, Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Minter,
Yes.
Representative Cook,
Aye.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Ladies, thank you for joining us this afternoon/evening. We appreciate the information and bring us up to speed on this.
Thank you. May we be excused?
Yes, please. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you. Thank you.
We have a new trend here. I feel a sense of empowerment. So nobody leaves this room without me excusing them. You hear? No, not gonna abuse my power here. Next item on the pull list with the Kentucky Community Technical College System is number 44 on our list. And I believe we're doing this virtual as well. Our representatives here.
Afternoon, yes, we are virtual.
We're
We're
trying
going
to
through introduction.
get our introduction going with David.
My name is David Shermer. I'm the Director of Grants, Planning, and Institutional Effectiveness at Madisonville Community College in the western part of the state.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Johnson. I'm the Dean of Business Affairs at Madisonville Community College.
Appreciate you joining us. I request this contract be pulled just because of
Sorry, I cannot hear.
the attention that our nursing situation has gotten during this last year with COVID, and we all
I
appreciate.
am Tanya Peters with KCTCS Procurement.
Yes, ma'am. Appreciate you joining us. Anyone else? All right. Again, the reason I pulled this contract is there's a lot of attention being given to the nursing profession right now, and obviously the shortage we're trying to address. And while this isn't a substantial amount of money, I'm just curious as to why it's specific to Baptist Health Deaconess Madisonville.
Well, they're our primary healthcare provider in Madisonville, and up until and just recently merged with a Deaconess Hospital in Evansville. It's a 160-bed critical care hospital. The idea came to us when I was talking to their human resources person about the nurse shortage. Last year, when we prepared the proposal, they had 40 vacancies, RN vacancies alone. In fact, I just talked to their HR person, Lori Oglesby, earlier this morning, and that's almost doubled. They have 90 vacancies now, so it's a lot of attrition. We chose Baptist Health because they've been solid, good partners with Madisonville Community College for several decades. They've helped underwrite expansion of our nursing program in the past. We felt if we had a tightly focused, easy to work with organization, we could conduct the research necessary to determine what it is that's causing this unprecedented attrition rate among the nursing and allied health workforce. So I guess the short answer is, sir, that we've worked with them in the past. We have a wonderful working relationship, and it should give us the information we need to develop strategies that we can disseminate beyond Baptist Health within our service area. But once we need to find out what that information is and how we can help address the attrition problem.
Again, I commend you for the study, but on the numbers you cited as far as the attrition rate and the vacancies, that's become pretty universal throughout Kentucky. And unless you're looking at this as being representative of the entire Commonwealth, is that kind of the intent? Just taking a small subset and trying to extrapolate the data and say, here's what it is for the entire state?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's Baptist Health is the largest hospital within our service area. We have a number of smaller hospitals, one in Caldwell County, Muhlenberg County as well. But again, it was just to the explanation I've already given. It would just be easier to pull together that group and identify currently employed nurses for the research study and those recently separated. We felt like we could get both those who were currently working and those who, for whatever reasons, left, so that we could better understand what's going on. And there's also a spinoff on that, and whatever findings we have, we will use to help refine our nursing curriculum. Our nursing program is the largest healthcare program on our campus. And it's important, I think, for us to revisit the curriculum. Certainly our nursing division chair and our program coordinators feel like it's important to address these workplace stress issues, mental health issues associated with students who are currently enrolled and who will soon be graduating to enter the workforce, because we think it's having an impact upon the RN pipeline, that people might be shying away from the profession because of, there's no nice way to put it, because of the bad press associated with the pandemic. It's just that bad press has resonated throughout the Commonwealth and the nation.
Explain to me, if you will, how this work's going to be conducted. It says funds for design, administration, analysis of quantitative research. So are they going to be interviewing nurses?
First we will work with the Baptist Health Administration to identify currently employed nurses who are willing to participate, and also identify those who've recently separated. We will screen those participants. We're a teaching institution. We're not a research institution. So although I can speak to certain aspects of the qualitative research process, I am not an expert in that. I know just enough to be dangerous. But we will screen those potential participants so that we get a good pool that have the right characteristics to be interviewed. Then there'll be focus group interviews using a structured interview process. Findings will be distilled, common themes identified. A report will be prepared and delivered to us so that we can disseminate that report, of course, redacted of any personal information. It will sanitize the report in that respect. And share that information with Baptist Health. And then we will sit down with their HR people and administration, and we'll talk about strategies, what can be done to reduce attrition. This may help kind of focus the impact of this. The research we did on the original proposal indicated that it cost a hospital like Baptist Health about $45,000 to replace a nurse vacancy. So if you save just a handful of those, you're saving the organization a significant amount of money that can be, we hope, put to use in some way to incentivize nurses or make the workplace less stressful, more effective. It's all about patient care and quality care. And if the bedside nurse, if the patient care personnel are working long hours, and I don't need to get preachy about it, but quality care can suffer. And they have any number of ways of measuring that within the hospital, far more than I understand, to be quite honest, but they track that in a great deal of detail, and they're convinced that it is having an impact upon quality care. The time was right for this, and we've had a good working relationship with the Delta USDA Healthcare Services Grant Program. In fact, part of our proposal included the research plan for the project, and demonstrated our, we hope, anyway, I assume it did, enabled us to make a solid proposal that Delta USDA had confidence would work. So from the beginning, Delta USDA was aware of what we were doing and how we were moving forward with the project.
Well, relatively speaking, it's certainly not a whole lot of money, but I guess my concern is, you know, every hospital in the state of Kentucky and pretty much the United States is having the same issue.
Yeah, they are.
And years been in 34 for this. I spoke to the University of Louisville Medical Center last week, and they got the same issues. Are they going to be doing a study? Will UK be doing a study? Will everybody be doing a study? And it looks like there should be some means that we could pull all this together and do one study rather than being so specific to this situation. That's just me.
I guess, I mean, I'll just be truthful about this. Not that I would want to do anything else with you, but partnership grants can be difficult to develop. There are a lot of moving parts, so no, we did not consult with UK or U of L. We have obviously spoken with some of the smaller hospitals in our surface area, and we will be sharing our results with them and disseminating them, at least in our Western Kentucky region. But your point is well taken. I don't have much more to say about that, except having worked with partnership grants in the past, sometimes it's hard to get all the partners to agree on what we're going to do and how we're going to move forward sometimes. But I guess shame on us if we can't make that work. So.
Well, I appreciate you being perfectly honest with me. I don't get that all the time, so I don't have any other questions or any questions. If not, entertain a motion on the contract.
Second.
I think I've had a motion first from Representative Hart. I'll take a second from Senator Douglas. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas?
Aye.
Senator Southworth?
Aye.
Senator Yates? Representative Bowling? Representative Hart?
Yes.
Representative Minter?
Yes.
Representative Cook?
Yes.
Chairman Meredith?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate the information and wish you the best of luck going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next item on our list is number 47 on our PSC green list, Northern Kentucky University. I've got virtual and in person. All right. You've been sitting here patiently listening to all this, and God bless you.
Can't wait for my turn.
Thank you for joining us. You kind of got a preview then of, you know, what I'm going to ask about is we got a $70,000 contract here. I believe that's correct, 47. Yeah, for going to find a new athletic director.
Yes.
I appreciate the importance of that position. Curious, though, I don't know that it's any more important than the executive director for economic development, and they got theirs for $46,000. You're getting yours for $70,000.
Well, I can't speak to their negotiation. This is the contractor that we have used for our previous athletic searches. They have an area of expertise in this. This current athletic director was found with the search firm. He's been fantastic, and we're sorry that he's retiring. And our current men's basketball coach and our previous men's basketball coach. So we have a track record with this company and feel that they are the best qualified and prepared to do this search for us.
Again, relatively speaking, $70,000 is not a big contract for this type of search. I appreciate that. So there was not an RFP for this?
There was. We are piggybacking on UK's contract with Parker. I don't know if you want to speak to the.
So
I mean,
guys.
yes, the
blame.
RFP was done, and my understanding is that there were five. There were five companies who participated in the RFP, and none of them were domiciled in Kentucky.
Well, that's a shame, because that's my other question. Again, you're going to see, well, you won't hang around. We'll let you go back to Northern Kentucky, but $1 million we're going to spend on executive recruitment firms. And again, I just want to see this money spent in Kentucky, if at all possible. And every dollar we send out, the less opportunity we have to raise money for our post-secondary education.
Perhaps we need an incentive program to attract really good search firms to Kentucky.
Could be. I'll work on that. Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Representative Hart, seconded by Co-Chair Cook. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Southworth.
Aye.
Senator Yates. Representative Bowling. Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Mentor.
Yes.
Representative Cook.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Before you leave the desk here, I don't think you identified yourself for the record, so if you would.
Carmen Hickerson, AVP of Economic Development and Government Relations.
Thank you. Appreciate you joining us. Have a safe trip home. Next item on the list, and bated anticipation.
If you notice, Bart didn't run out of the
University of Kentucky. Yeah. And here's Bart, and here's Barry.
Good evening, Chairman.
How
I'm
you
Bart
doing?
Harden, Director of Government Relations.
Barry Swanson. I'm the Chief Procurement Officer for the campus.
We pulled number 51. Can you guess about what I'm going to talk about?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Bart, you weren't paying attention. I'm disappointed.
Really, I wasn't. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah. You could have saved us a lot of time if you'd been paying attention, Bart.
Exactly.
I'm
No.
sorry.
I mean, it is what it is. We've got a contract.
If you preface that with, I'm being perfectly honest.
I mean, we're spending $232,000 on a search firm for a provost, probably the second most important position on the academic side of campus. We'll do a national search. This is not a job application process. It is a search to find a fit for the University of Kentucky. We go through searches for all kinds of positions at all different times. We RFP this. We have probably 11 different search firms that we have identified through the process that have various specialty niches, if you will, for specific things. And this is the firm out of that 11 we thought could best fit the search for provost.
Well, since you're being perfectly honest, I don't know how I could argue that point. It's just, again, and you guys both, I appreciate you coming to our committee meetings, appreciate the information you give us, but sensitivity is always big organization, big impact on our state. I wish we could make a more focused effort to spend the money in Kentucky, but I understand.
Sure.
Just
And it is a lot of money. I'm not going to sit here and say $232,000 isn't a lot of money, but a mistake in a hire in that area can cost us a whole lot more than $232,000. And I think we view it as money well spent. That's frankly how we got the president at the University of Kentucky that we have now. 11 years ago when Dr. Lee Todd decided to retire, our Board of Trustees decided they were going to use a specific national firm. I don't know what that firm was, but President Capilouto wasn't looking for a job as a university president at that time. They happened to uncover him and identify candidates that they thought might be a fit for the University of Kentucky. And that's how we ended up with him. So I think that was probably money well spent 11 years ago, and hopefully we'll get an equally good provost out of this search.
Well, if not, do you get a money back guarantee?
No.
If there's, I can say that if there's termination for cause, we do get our money back within a year.
All right.
Yeah.
Motion on the bill.
Motion by Representative Hart.
Second.
Second, Representative Mentor. All in favor of the motion, vote aye. All opposed, vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling, Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor,
Yes, and good luck with your search.
Representative Cook,
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye, motion carries. And gentlemen, appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you much. Next on our list is, excuse me while I catch up with myself here. It's only a matter of coincidence that University of Louisville follows University of Kentucky here. But that's the next item is number 31 on our PSC Amendment Ivory list. If representatives are here, I believe they're testifying virtually. Please identify yourself for the record.
Good afternoon, Senator Meredith. I'm Sally Malsberger, Chief Procurement Officer at the University of Louisville. I'll be the sole person today speaking on behalf of this amendment.
I appreciate that. And just for the committee's information, Ms. Malsberger and I had a conversation. Was that yesterday? I lose track of time, or day before?
On Monday.
On Monday. Yeah. Very good conversation about this particular contract. We will give the award this month for the largest contract for personnel executive recruitment. Both Co-Chair Cook and I have questions, and I'll defer to him first.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I guess let's just start off. We're increasing by $343,000, so maybe that's a good place to just kick this whole conversation, I think.
Sure. This contract was one of others that we set up for search firms. We try to have a pool of them because sometimes they've got conflicts, the different firms for the particular positions at any given time. And we also like to try to get the best pricing available, and they're all in competition with one another. The reason for this amendment is that we have already exceeded with 3 searches that have been done on this contract and that are still not yet finalized, all the funds on the contract. We have used this contract already for a internal chair for our medical school, for the dean of our law school, and for the chair of our orthopedics division at the university. And we had our dean of our medical school inform the unit that manages these contracts and make sure there's enough funds that they had a search for replacing our endowed chair of our Kentucky spinal cord unit. And we had to inform her that we were not going to be able to proceed until we requested additional funds be added to this contract. And one of the reasons why this contract has been so heavily used is they have extensive expertise with the medical area and the research area particularly. And they're the only search firm that we currently have under contract with that type of expertise. And so the search that we are getting ready to do will allow us for that search and then 2 other at the dean level that we are not sure if they're going to use this firm or not. They've not yet decided. We also have a dean for our arts and sciences area that needs to be filled. It's been open for over a year, and also the dean of our education division. So those 3 altogether would basically encompass the amount of money that includes their administrative fees, their general fee and the travel involved. So that's really what brings this to this total.
Mr. Chairman, a follow-up if I may.
Yes, please.
So I struggle on contracts with an as-needed basis. I struggle with how do you come up with $343,050 if we don't even know if we've decided we're using this firm as possible to do it. And I feel like we're just throwing money at something that's very open-ended. And I don't know that that's a question. It's just a statement that I have on this. I feel like it's just a lot of money, kind of open-ended check, so to speak. And I don't know if you have any comments on that or not, but that's just what it looks like to me. Thank you.
Well, we have found, because we've had these contracts with Isaacson Miller they had a contract prior to this biennium as well. And they successfully placed several people both in the academic and in our health sciences campus. So we've been able to work very quickly through these committees, and with our leadership particularly, that we've got in place that have remained consistent at the university. They've got a lot of technology, this particular firm as well, whereas some of our other firms are not as tech savvy and doing the Skyping and the interviews remotely, et cetera. So that's, really why when we look at the pool that we've got, they do all seem to have separate niches. And unfortunately, we've had a lot of the high level, dean level or chair level positions that are opened up. And we did do an RFP for these search firms, and we had 23 respondents, and we ended up awarding 7 contracts. And to answer the Kentucky vendor question, there was only one Kentucky vendor that responded out of the 23 respondents. And unfortunately, they scored 22 out of the 23. And they didn't have any, they only had in the course of the last 6 years 4 higher education searches. So they really didn't have that type of experience. And when we look at the 7 that we awarded, they all have different academic specialties. So it just so happens the specialties and the dean's positions that we've had have fit with Isaacson Miller. And actually one of our other firms, their dean searches actually start at $100,000, and Isaacson Miller starts at $85,000. And then you have to tack on their 11% administrative fee and then their travel. So we don't look at the highest of our pool. We go through all 7 and try to identify who would best be able for this search at what the rates that they have for these positions.
I request this contract be pulled as well, but again, you and I had a long conversation. A lot of my questions were the same as Co-Chair Cook. And not to put you on the spot, but as part of our conversation, is it fair to say that you acknowledge that this whole process has been a little bit decentralized in the past, and you're trying to now bring it more into the administrative house? Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir, absolutely. And we had expressed that after the previous biennium. My unit does analysis by category and also by category for personal services contracts. And it's no secret to everybody on this call, a lot of the turnover in high-level positions we've had, and even in our colleges. But without there being a central person literally managing these contracts and going through some of these central people were randomly deciding which firm they wanted to use. And it wasn't necessarily done by evaluating their expertise and their specialization and the cost involved. And so we are now currently doing that. And also my unit challenges the score sheets. We actually eliminate the pricing. We come up with what the pricing percentages are and do not share that with the committee members. So they are evaluating simply the experience and the qualifications so that they are not gearing their scores to gear it towards a particular award to a particular vendor. We found that very useful, and it takes more time. It takes a lot more hands-on. But again, with the new leadership we have, we've tried to pattern and make it clear how important procurement in these decisions, how we need to be involved in all the steps with the committees and with the final decision makers.
I appreciate you taking that effort. I think it is very important as well, and commend you for taking that initiative. Are there any questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, with that answer to your question, to your comment, I will make a motion to approve this contract.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Hart. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling, Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor,
Yes.
Representative Cook,
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. And Ms.
Thank
Malzberger?
you. Senator,
Yes.
may I be excused, please?
Well, let me think about that for a moment. We're going to be here a little bit longer. We kind of like to people suffer with us, but no, you're free to leave. Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Senator. Pleasure.
I got all this power now that I.
You leave the meeting early, on the back of the list.
Yeah, I got Next, I'm on the pull list with behavioral health, developmental and intellectual disabilities, and is number 1 on the MOA pin. If representatives are here, please identify yourself for the record.
Good afternoon, Senator Meredith. My name is Phyllis Mills-Pa. I am an assistant director for the Division of Behavioral Health. And
Thank
I
you.
will let Dr. Clark and Dr. Allen introduce themselves.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
Good afternoon. This is Brittany Allen, Director of the Division of Behavioral Health with the Department of Behavioral Health, Developmental and Intellectual Disabilities.
Good afternoon. I'm Patty Clark. I'm also an Assistant Director with the Department for Behavioral Health.
Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. And Senator Southworth had the question about this contract.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It looks like to me what this contract generally does is has somebody, or I think it's 1.5 people, for if I'm not mistaken, looking at issues and trying to come up with ideas or creative brainstorming type of a job. Is that a fair assessment of the style of work we're doing here?
Yes, Senator, I guess that would be a broad description of what is being planned with the funds. It is intended to collect some information that is supported by data across the state around the ability of the rape crisis centers to provide accessible services to all citizens in the Commonwealth. And to do that, they want to have a board that is comprised of persons with lived experience, advising them on steps that they could take to make things more accessible to all citizens. But it does hire, I apologize, it does hire 1.5 individuals. One is to assist with marketing and communications of the work that's being done around that work, as well as a communications person.
Marketing and communications, yes. So I'm on page 4 of the contract. In number 2, you just mentioned the marketing outreach and so forth. And I'm a little bit confused on exactly what our target population is, because in one spot it starts listing out, individuals of all these different categories that have substance use disorder. And then earlier, we've got historically marginalized populations, including, I think, pregnant women and just a whole bunch of different things. So can you kind of clarify what exactly are we talking about here?
Certainly. That's a great question. The data highlights that while 90% of rape survivors are women, especially Black women, those with disabilities like Native Americans, the LGBTQI, and transgender college students have the highest rates of becoming victims of sexual assault. Statistics show that 1 in 6 women will be raped annually in the United States. Currently, KSAP the Kentucky Association of Sexual Assault Programs, which is the coalition of the 13 regional rape crisis centers, serve about mostly Caucasian women, and about 77% of their victims were women in the last fiscal year. And the related substance use and behavioral health consequences of being a victim of trauma like sexual assault is clearly shown in the data to result in higher incidences of substance use disorder or mental illness, anxiety, and all the other behavioral health consequences that go along with that kind of trauma. So this work is attempting to broaden their approach to make these services available to all types of individuals who have been marginalized because of maybe race, maybe because they are men, for example. They don't serve a lot of men as well. So what can they do to make those services even more accessible to all citizens? So the attempt there was to collect data around all the populations that are served in the least amounts, and hoping to open those doors a little more broadly for all citizens.
Okay, thank you. And then my final piece here on page 3, it mentions that we're implementing an approach within a racial equity framework, and it talks about new equity enhanced policies on page 5. By equity, what exactly do you mean by that? Because earlier we were talking about racial disparities in service access, and I'm trying to figure out, is that what you mean? You're just using different words, or is this something totally else that we haven't talked about yet?
No, ma'am, it is all in the same category. It's just different ways of communicating that there is a lot of data showing that there's a very small population of Kentuckians who are being served by the rape crisis centers, when we know indeed that there is a very large population of folks who have been traumatized by sexual assault and who go on to have issues with substance use disorder and mental illness. So we're really just trying to find different ways to broaden that door so that there's no wrong door to go through to get those services.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Senator Douglas, you have a question, comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, Senator Southworth and asked one of my questions. The other question I had was, you mentioned a particular clinic, and I didn't catch the name because it was pretty quick, but you used the term or the phrase serving Caucasian women. That led me to another question. When we use that term, it's almost suggesting to the exclusion of others. So my question to you is, are the services not available for anyone other than Caucasian women, or are people not seeking those services? Thank you.
That's also a very good question. That statistic I shared with you was data coming from their state fiscal year 21 reporting. It does reflect that about 77% of the clients, new clients, were women and who were white. They do serve all individuals of all races and ethnicities. They just don't serve as many of them, and they're trying to discover the reasons why they aren't reaching them as effectively as they are one population over the other. They're just trying to figure out, again, how to make those services more easily accessible to everyone, and trying to ask the right questions so that they can change policies and procedures if they are a barrier in any way.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Entertain a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion approved by
Second.
Senator Yates, seconded by Representative Hart. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor.
Yes, and thank you for working to make your services accessible to all who need them.
Thank you.
Representative Cook,
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Appreciate you being with us this afternoon. Appreciate the information you've shared with us.
Thank you so much.
And you're excused.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the pulled list are with the Cabinet of Health and Family Services, and they're number 3, 4, and 5 on the MOA pink list. And I believe Dr. Stack is joining us.
Hello, Senator Meredith. How are you this evening?
Another day in paradise here in the Capitol Annex. I hope the same for you.
It is. Thank you.
Appreciate you joining us. Know how busy you are. And excuse me, I'm looking at. Okay. A lot of contracts here for. I assume trying to increase the incident of college students getting vaccinated against COVID. Just curious as what kind of position are we in now with our colleges and university? Do we have any recent statistics as to what percentage have been vaccinated?
Well, that's a very good question, Senator. And if I can, this and the following two contracts are part of a bundle. You said 3, 4, and 5. So
yeah.
Senate Bill 3 from special session last year appropriated $69.2 million from ARPA funds to support a variety of activities, including testing and therapeutics and other needs as arose related to COVID-19. We haven't had really dedicated funding from the CDC specifically to help support the post-secondary education community, which I think we all understand is important for the Commonwealth. And so this was an opportunity to use some of those funds to support them. The initiatives are inclusive of vaccination, perhaps getting PPE, promoting and making available testing, and other best practices as the universities determine. So this particular contract, the $500,000 one, would fund the private and independent colleges and universities. There's a second contract in here which provides a larger sum of money to KCTCS, which would be for them to do these sorts of activities. Plus, they are working with an outside vendor to communicate with and try to educate and encourage college students to voluntarily uptake vaccination. And that will be made available to all the public universities. It's just that KCTS took point. That's why their contract amount is so much larger, is for that outreach and communication effort. And then the third and final one is a multi-provider agreement, which is for up here now, the 1.67 million, which goes to the other 8 colleges and universities to provide resources for these various items. With respect to your question about what is their vaccination rate, it's a very good question. And I can look that up for you. It mirrors very closely in many of these communities the general vaccination rate for the 18 to 20 some year old range, although some universities, perhaps like University of Kentucky or some others that have made individual requirements or expectations have slightly higher rates. In general, it probably mirrors the general public.
And that number is presently?
I am getting it for you right now. Sure, it's pulling up. So right on our dashboard, sorry. Here we go. So as of today, for the population 18 to 24, it is 55% have at least one dose.
In all these contracts go through June of this year, what do you anticipate for the next year?
Well, as of present, there's no additional funding source to go into the new fiscal year. So at present, there's not any specific funding for a similar program like this.
So this would be it unless there's another allocation?
Yes, sir.
Are the programs pretty much standardized across all of our college and university, or how much latitude do they have in developing their own programs?
So we partnered with the Council on Post-Secondary Education because this is really their audience and they know them best. And so they have provided to the colleges and universities descriptions of allowable expenses and have created a system where they'll get reports back from the colleges and universities to be accountable for these. I think this really just began in January. So I would think later, or near the end of the fiscal year, probably CPE will have some summary or a report, and we could probably come back to you with that if that's of interest.
Possibly, maybe discussion for interim health and welfare, just to see where we are with that. But I appreciate that, and also appreciate the information on what's listed as number 5. You've heard I don't like descriptions of multi, and you have been kind enough to provide us the detail for each university, so I greatly appreciate that, and as well the information this afternoon. Senator Southworth, you have a question?
I may have more than one, Mr. Chairman. My first question is this word efficacy. When we have in the description here, and you mentioned we were going to be working basically on trying to really push to get more people vaccinated in this young college age range. And it says with an emphasis on instilling confidence in the efficacy of vaccines. Now, there's a couple of things I have a question about. First, the efficacy of vaccines generally, or the efficacy of the vaccines available for COVID?
Oh, specifically COVID-19. These funds were appropriated only for COVID-19, so it's all specific to COVID-19.
Okay, and can we go to the federal emergency use authorization laws that say that we don't have all the information whenever something has not been approved? Are you aware of those laws and how that works whenever we have emergency use drugs available?
Well, the COVID pandemic has been unprecedented in a number of ways. I think we've all talked about that on previous experiences. But the distinction that happened in COVID was that the FDA used the emergency use authorization route in order to expedite the review of scientific data and then issue authorizations in order for pharmaceuticals or tests also to be used. That's different than the typical approval process, which unfolds in a much more prolonged and drawn out manner, and which would not have enabled these resources to be available. So they focused their time and attention to expedite the timeline, and in so doing, they used the emergency use authorization approach.
The emergency use authorization, though, is longstanding law. So my other question, as I have been made aware over the past few months from pharmacists and others, is that we currently do not have any COVID vaccines that are not emergency use drugs. Are you aware of that issue?
There are actually 2. So the Pfizer product is fully authorized for 18 and older, and I don't know if they've dropped it younger, but at least for 18 and older, it's fully approved. And the trade name for that now is Comirnaty. And then just recently, within the last week or so, the Moderna product has been fully approved under the name Spikevax, which is sounds like they picked a Transformers name for it. But so now we have Spikevax and Comirnaty, which are fully approved via the more traditional and longer route for those 2 vaccines.
Now, you mentioned we have these 2 vaccines. Have you seen any of these vaccines being provided to any students 18 and up or whatever in this country, and especially in this state? Or are you aware of them being available to any of these people in this state?
Are you making a distinction between if they're packaged with that name on it versus the previous packaging that just had the chemical name or the EUA name?
I am making a distinction between things that are showing up into our pharmacies in December with November expiration dates and things that are showing up that have been approved and we can document it.
That should not be happening. There should not be expired product in the field that's being used. And if you have that, Senator, we would be grateful if you could share that with us and we will look into it immediately. That should not be occurring. There should be safeguards in place to ensure, in fact, it does not happen.
Well, I was hoping that we would be over this hump by now, but apparently we're not, because every time I check back in, it's more of the same. And if we have that kind of stuff, and that is the only thing that we're getting available in our offices, pharmacies, wherever all this is shipping, and we've been checking regionally and nationally to locate non-expired, approved vaccines, we have not been able to get all of the above in Kentucky, to my knowledge, so far, and I've been working on this. it raises a lot of concern that now we're going to spend taxpayer dollars trying to funnel what may not be practical information anyone can use, because you can say, hey, this vaccine's been approved, but if you go to the office, you're not going to be able to get it. And that is my main concern, number one. My other concern is these kids, essentially we'll call them kids. My little brother's on the very edge of this age range, maybe 25 years old or whatever. He's worried to death because how many of his friends and people he knows have had heart problems? You shouldn't be having heart problems when you're that young. So are we giving students a full information about these things and health risks, or are we just giving them narrow information and they don't have all of it?
Well, Senator, to the first part about the inventory, there is absolute expectation that there is current unexpired inventory in the field and safeguards for that purpose. So I would want to reassure the public that that is the case. And again, if there are any instances where it is not the case, we will intervene promptly if someone provides that information, because that should not ever occur. The second, with respect to disclosure, I'm a 20+ year emergency physician. Informed consent is essential to the practice of medicine. And it is my expectation that people do provide the appropriate education to individuals so they can be informed of risks and benefits and make a choice. And in an adolescent and young adult population, that does include the discussion about the potential, which is still very small, but does occur for myocarditis in some of those individuals. And so, yes, the educational efforts fully disclose and provide information that there are risks and benefits, but clearly it is the belief of the general medical community that the benefits far outseed the risks, and that's why we believe it's appropriate to encourage confidence in the technology and the medication.
My final question, this contract terms language says instilling confidence. It doesn't say anything about bringing awareness of risks. That doesn't seem to fit with what you just said. Is there something I'm missing here?
No, I don't think you are. I think that this is a short distillation of a larger program, and clearly the hope and the aspiration is to instill confidence. But this is just a few line summary of a much more complex program. So I guess I would just say that if it is incomplete, it's incomplete just for the sake of brevity for this type of format at a committee hearing.
For the sake of brevity, it seems like our little 2-minute visits aren't necessarily providing enough information for people to really make a good consent in potentially violation of the federal law. And that's my main concern. Mr. Chairman, I would move for disapproval of number 3, 4, and 5 because of those major issues.
Motion second to disapprove 3, 4, and 5. Clerk, if you would, please call the roll. All those in favor vote aye. All opposed will vote no.
Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates,
Yes, please.
Mr. Chair, I do appreciate the job of this committee, and so sometimes I know we get a little sidetracked on some issues and sometimes become informative. I would just be amiss if I didn't state that I think this has been probably in my lifetime one of the most discussed issues, and I appreciate Mr. Sachs being here today and his explanation. Thank you. I vote no.
Representative Bowling,
No.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Minter.
Briefly explain.
Yes, please.
I vote no on the motion to disapprove. And as someone who works at Western Kentucky University, I'm extremely grateful for this funding for not only education about vaccines, but for the program that that we have to have isolation for students who live outside of a 3-hour radius and are not going to be and are not sent home for COVID. So again, I think this is a great program, and we have tightly packed people in residence halls. It would literally be like malpractice not to continue this as we start to hopefully see the ARC go down.
Representative Cook,
No.
Senator Meredith,
I'm thinking. Sorry, I got lost there.
Smoke coming out of your ears.
I want to vote no. Still a lot of questions around this, and yeah, just my vote is no. But we have three. I'm sorry. Here's where I got confused, and I'm going to record my vote. I'm voting aye on that. Sorry, I'm brain dead at this point. So we're at 4-4. Is there a motion to approve the contracts? Motion by
Second.
Senator Yates, second by Representative Mentor. All those in favor of approving the contracts, vote aye. All opposed, vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas,
No.
Senator Southworth,
No.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling, Representative Hart,
No.
Representative Mentor,
Yes.
Representative Cook,
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
No. We have 3 aye votes, 4 no votes, not enough to approve the contracts, so they will automatically go to the Finance Cabinet for final disposition on this. But Dr. Stack, I always appreciate you joining us and engaging us in this conversation. If you don't mind, a couple of questions, not really related to the contracts, but do we have any supply issues with the vaccine?
No, sir, we do not.
The reason I'm asking, I'm sorry, committee members, I know we've been here a long time, but I have a primary care physician in my home community that says she cannot get the vaccine. Have you any other reports of that?
They just have to enroll in the federal program, and there's requirements that go with it. And so we have an education kit as required by statute last year that's online. And if you have them reach out to our office, we will put them in touch with the immunization team who can help them with the enrollment process.
That's my understanding that they have been enrolled, but for whatever reason can't get the vaccine.
We'll be happy to assist, sir. I mean, we every time we've drilled down into these things, if someone has signed up and wants vaccine, we've been able to remove the roadblock. And it's just that there's a burdensome reporting requirement that goes with the program. And so it's difficult for some sites to comply, but we are happy to help them try to overcome all those hurdles.
Well, she's had difficulty navigating the system, and I understand how difficult it is right now, but would you mind emailing me who a contact person might be that I can share with her?
Yes, sir. We'll make sure we follow up on that.
I appreciate that and appreciate your attendance this afternoon and evening. One other thing, we passed this afternoon, it has to go before the House, but in lieu of a vaccine, if you have a positive antibody test, that can be used in lieu of documentation of vaccine. Do you think this is going to impact any of this?
Senator Meredith, I would be remiss if you had so much fun with the previous witnesses. I'd be remiss if I didn't have a chuckle, and thank you for asking these contractual questions this afternoon. As far as House Joint Resolution 80, and I listened to the testimony this afternoon, or this morning, I think it was, we may get to a point like that, but as that particular resolution is worded, there is no FDA-approved neutralizing antibody test for clinical use, and there is no defined range or 20th percentile criterion defined in the United States by which that could be applied. But I think we would hope that we can head that route, and we do it for other diseases like hepatitis, where you can go get a titer level and determine that the science for COVID is not quite yet there. For that particular resolution, I mean, to be implemented as it's worded. But yeah, I think we all hope to get to that point. And I think we all hope that we get to a point where we don't have to have any of these discussions anymore, because we have gotten to a point where it's no longer the threat that it is. And let me just leave you with this thought. I'm confident that we're heading that direction, and that hopefully later this year, it's going to get better and better and better, and that we'll get to a sense where it's not nearly as troublesome. But that's my hope. And clearly this virus has thrown a lot of curveballs. And so the crystal ball remains at least grayishly opaque, if not solidly opaque.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you indulging me as well. I know that question was not specific to these contracts, and I'm sorry if I deviated from the subject matter, but thought it was convenient while we had you here to get your opinion on that, and I appreciate it. It's very valuable to me. But
Share's prerogative, and I'm happy to share this information. I hope you all continue to hear that from me. I'm happy to share this stuff.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it, and have a good evening.
Well, I'm here for 3 more, I think.
Oh, are you?
The first person not to question the leave.
You've set a new record this afternoon. Yeah. Let me find those. Where am I here?
This is one of them. 30.
30, yes, 30 and 31. Thank you. Thank you for keeping me on track here. As a matter of fact, this is the final item on our pooled list are with Department of Health, and they are 30 and 31. And thank you for bringing that to my attention. And also 14 on the MOA 10 list. So Senator Southworth again has questions regarding these.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to start with number 30 because they're two totally different things. We're doing a 0.7 full-time equivalent position. And I was just trying to get a handle on how a branch manager, what else are they doing, or why are they 0.7? I suppose we're doing a contract because we can't technically have a 0.7 for a part-time and we don't want them full-time?
No, this is pretty typical so obviously there's very specialized work that gets done in probably a lot of these cabinets, but including certainly public health. And so this is a physician, infectious disease branch manager. The 0.3 part is so that the individual can continue a clinical aspect of their life. So they're a pediatric hospitalist at the University of Louisville and Norton Children's. And that's important because when we can have clinically practicing physicians, it brings real world experience to the decisions we make. And so that 0.3 enables that individual to continue a clinical practice component in her professional life, and also to have a limited component in global public health that they do at University of Louisville. And the other 0.7 is to provide the services that we need to help as a leader for our infectious disease branch.
Okay, thank you. And then moving on to number 31, I want to highlight this project right here because this says provide funds to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 in confinement facilities. And they're going to have Department of Corrections federal grant funds to install HVAC UV light filter systems in 14 facilities. Now, of all the funds over the past many months that I have just gone off about wasting on testing and other things, this finally, 2 years later, has shown up as the best idea for spending COVID mitigation funds that I've seen to date. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, $5 million for 14 prison facilities. Have we not been thinking about this before? We should be having this on the ARPA list for every state building in the entire state. I mean, is this something that's just now starting just in prisons, or are we going to get this moving other places? Because I sure would rather be actually killing bugs instead of testing for them.
Well, this is a specific federal grant that was given specifically for correctional settings, and this is a portion of it. And the Kentucky Department of Corrections has other initiatives to improve their ventilation and their HVAC systems. This is actually funding to help support that effort, but it's a partial piece of a bigger project. And so, again, we have a dedicated federal grant specifically for the correctional setting that allows this sort of activity, but we don't have other dedicated funding. But Senator, we would love if the General Assembly wants to give us a few $100 million, and we'll go around and see what we can do with it to help ventilation in other buildings. But I'm not sure the general fund has that extra resource.
Can I put a pause on this question or that statement a little bit to ask another follow-up? And that is, don't we have like CARES money, ARPA funds, all these things that are supposed to be allocated to COVID mitigation? Are those, we're doing testing, that's supposedly COVID mitigation. are those funds not eligible to be used for HVAC UV filters?
Well, the only ARPA money we have left at the moment is the $69.2 million, which was given in the special session. And that was already planned and programmed last fall. And a lot of the stuff that we were asked to do was specifically specified K through 12 test to stay, the monoclonal antibody program. So those things were specified in statute, and we tried to hew as tightly as we could to the statutory intent.
So the $5 or $6 million that we just were talking about going to this colleges wouldn't qualify for HVAC UV filters?
I guess you could potentially, but since the legislature was very specific, saying tested for COVID-19, assisting monoclonal antibody treatment centers, and providing for test to stay, the legislature said that we should prioritize on those issues. So we followed the legislated intent as it was described in the piece of legislation.
And that
And
legislation.
so, yes, I guess we could potentially have interpreted more widely, but I didn't bat very well. I just had a $5 million contract turned down trying to hew to these criteria. So I wouldn't have had reason to believe I'd be more successful the more creative I got.
In September, we passed that language, but before September, we still had COVID and we had tons of federal funds. So would any of those pre-existing funds qualify for HVAC UV filters?
Oh, I think that the CARES or the ARPA funding, I don't think there was a restriction that would have precluded either of those from being used for that purpose. But again, it's been a 2-year pandemic that has continued to evolve, and there were different priorities at different times.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to put on everybody's radar, we need to be looking at that as our priority in COVID mitigation right now instead of testing to see where the bugs are. They're all here, so let's clean them out. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Dr. Sack, I know we have one more contract to discuss, but I'd like to go ahead and take action on the two we just discussed. And Senator Southworth, do you want to combine?
Motion to approve. That's fine.
On both contracts? Motion to approve for 30 and 31, seconded by Representative Hart. All in favor of the motion, vote aye. All opposed, vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Southworth.
Aye.
Senator Yates. Representative Bowling.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Mentor.
Yes.
Representative Cook.
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye, motion carries. Doctor, the last thing we have for you is number 14 on our memorandum of agreement amendment list, and that's with the University of Kentucky for COVID testing, and we're asking for an increase of $10 million. And the description we have is for COVID testing, reimbursement for COVID testing for non-insured and non-Medicaid eligible patients. I'm just surprised that that's that large, given that we've got a third of our population on Medicaid right now. Just seems like a lot of money. It's not a criticism, just seems like a lot of money. Is there a particular segment of our population that we're reaching out to, or just all comers, or what?
Well, I'm going to see if I can demonstrate that I listened to the rest of the testimony that preceded me. So I'm going, in the interest of all candor, I'll express a little frustration. Some of the way these languages come to you, that's probably a partial description. So what this actually supports is community testing in a variety of different settings in the community, and the general public has access to this. So it definitely includes uninsured and non-Medicaid eligible people, but it also includes others who come in. We don't ask specifically or turn people away if they say they have insurance. So this testing contract has supported community testing for a long time in Lexington for Central Kentuckians. And first it was at Kroger Field, and the general public could come there. And I think you've probably all seen news coverings, or newspaper pictures where the lines were real long. It now supports at College Way, which is a different location on the UK campus. But it also supports, remember when St. Clair was struggling and with all of the patients that were overrunning in the Delta surge? This is the vehicle that this UK testing route allowed us to project testing out to support St. Clair, to support Mount Sterling, to support Berea College, Center College, Georgetown College, Bellarmine University, Pikeville Medical Center. So this was through the UK partnership, we were able to project testing to support communities throughout the Commonwealth and help people not go to the emergency department to get tests, but instead go somewhere just to get a test. That also spared those individuals having to pay for an ER visit in order just to get a COVID test. So I would agree with you entirely. It's a large sum if it was only what you saw in that description there, the uninsured and non-Medicaid eligible. But in fact, it was general community testing and has supported a lot of communities throughout the Commonwealth. Let me just add, Mr. Chair, this is the last addition I anticipate to this particular contract. That the Finance Cabinet has done a new procurement and is in the process of finalizing new vendors, and so or has finalized at this point. And so this is the final probably part for this particular contract, which has served the Commonwealth pretty well.
I appreciate you sharing that with us, and as well as sharing our frustration on these capsule descriptions we get for these contracts. And many times when they're pulled, it's not because we disagree with them, we just don't understand them. So this is a great educational opportunity for people on this committee to understand how state government works. And I appreciate your detailed explanation about this one. I certainly understand it much better, and certainly would support the contract. To that end, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Pintor, second by Southworth, or is that a question? Let me back up then, because she had a question before I called for the motion. So, Senator Southworth, please ask your question. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think I just mentioned this. So here we are again with our COVID testing, and at least 4 months in a row, but here we are almost 2 years in, and almost $11 more million. And we've seen these in the hundreds of millions of dollars added up together. Who knows how much we've spent, but it's like reminding me of warming ourselves on a cold day with a match that's going to get struck and then blow out very quickly versus installing our UV filters. That's like getting yourself a permanent fireplace. Is there at any time, I keep asking, and various groups have come through with their contracts for these things, is there at any point going to be a focus away from spending our taxpayer dollars like a giant waterfall on things that blow out like a match, and putting it more toward permanent infrastructure and things that have some kind of collateral use for the future?
Mr. Chair, do you want me to respond to that? Or?
You can, or I can give a partial response to it as well. Again, appreciate you being here, but I'm not sure that's not a question that's better appropriate for Secretary Freelander, since it's just beyond the public health issue here. And but again, Dr. Stack, if you have something to add to this, please feel free.
Senator, I'm gonna thank the Senator Southworth for the opportunity to comment, to make the point. So I agree on the need to invest for the future. So we are aligned on that, Senator Southworth. And in fact, there's a fantastic opportunity related directly to public health to do that. Our Commonwealth of Kentucky Public Health Laboratory, which provides all newborn screening services, testing for 53,000 live births a year, white powder analysis, only place in the state that does that for anthrax and other biosafety threats, rabies, and a number of other services, is over 30 years old. And in the governor's proposed budget for the capital spending plan, we did a feasibility study last year and had a vendor come in. The building is over 33 years old, cannot maintain proper temperature and humidity, and the modern medical equipment in that building overheats the rooms and means that the rooms have to shut down and can't provide those essential services for which there is no in-state alternative. So Senator Southworth, I would love to see the Senate include that in its version of the budget. It's a $135 million capital spending plan with bond funded over 30 years. It won't be built for 5 years. It takes that long. And I think you would all do the service, a great service for the Commonwealth and its people for those important and critical services. And you'll even have the benefit. It'll be some future commissioner more than 5 years from now that cuts the ribbon. It won't be me. And I'll be glad to celebrate their accomplishment the day they cut the ribbon. But the state direly needs to make that investment for the long term to help support all the other important things that we do that have nothing to do with COVID. So Senator Meredith, I want to thank Senator Southworth for the chance to share that input with the committee.
Well, thank you, sir. And I certainly appreciate your commitment to improving the health of the population of Kentucky. And I wish our managed care organizations had that same commitment. And truthfully, I think a lot of things we're talking about, which could be done, should be done, they should be at the forefront of that, and I don't see that. But you and I have had that conversation before, and I'd like to see the whole model change, but that's another conversation for another day. But if there are no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve that contract.
So moved.
Motion by Representative Mentors, or second. Second by Senator Yates. All in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas,
No.
Senator Southworth,
No.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor,
Yes.
Representative Cook,
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye. The vote is
6-2.
6 yes, 2 no. Measure passes. Dr. Stagg, appreciate you spending time with us this evening. I appreciate how busy you are, but always appreciate your advice and counsel on these things, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Good night.
Well, folks know we've been here a long time. We got one final item. Actually, it's exemption request for 6 items. I'm going to make the assumption that everybody has reviewed those. Are there any questions about those exemption requests? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve all of them en masse. So who made the motion? I mean, Senator Yates, seconded by Co-Chair Cook. All's in favor of approving the exemption request, vote aye. Opposed, vote no.
Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling, Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor,
Yes.
Representative Cook,
Yes.
Chairman Meredith.
Aye, motion carries. I believe that's our last order of business, other than to remind you that we're at least scheduled now for March 8th upon adjournment of both chambers. Of course, that time of year it's going to get a little bit crazy, so it's subject to change, so check your emails. But appreciate everyone attending this evening and actively participating, and I know we've been here a long time, but I appreciate your input and participation. With that, we stand adjourned. You are excused.